Welcome to Dark Tale Shorts 101, where every shadow has a story to tell. The stories shared on this channel are inspired by real people, real experiences, folklore, personal encounters, and terrifying accounts from individuals around the world. While our narration is brought to life using AI voice technology to create a more cinematic experience, the stories themselves are inspired by human experiences, cultural legends, paranormal encounters, and the kind of unexplained events that stay with people for the rest of their lives. Most of our stories are kept under 10 minutes because we believe true personal encounters are often short, direct, and unforgettable. Anything much longer can begin to feel less like a real experience and more like a novel. Our focus is on short, immersive storytelling that feels raw, personal, and unsettling. From haunted lakes and wandering spirits to unexplained creatures and eerie mysteries, each story is meant to pull you into the darkness and leave you wondering what may truly be out there. If you enjoy creepy storytelling, paranormal encounters, and short horror tales, please like, subscribe, and join us here at Dark Tale Shorts 101. Because sometimes, the scariest stories are the ones people swear really happened. Before we begin, tonight's story is called The Night I Saw a Tree Walk Through My Backyard. We would also like to thank those who share their personal stories with us. Without them, we would not have the opportunity to bring these chilling experiences to you. The night I saw a tree walk through my backyard. I know how this is going to sound. Believe me, if someone else told me this story, I probably would have smiled politely, nodded my head, and thought they were either joking or they had seen something in the dark that their mind turned into something else. But this did not feel like my mind playing tricks on me. This did not feel like a shadow, chilling experiences to you. This did not feel like the wind moving branches. What I saw that night looked like a tree, and it walked through my backyard. It happened late one night when the house was already quiet. Everyone had gone to bed, and I was still awake, sitting in the living room. I don't remember exactly what I was doing. Maybe watching something on TV. Maybe scrolling through my phone. It was one of those quiet nights where nothing really stands out. Until something does. At first, I heard a sound outside. Not a loud sound. More like a slow, dragging noise. Like something heavy was being pulled across the grass. I paused and listened. For a few seconds, there was nothing. Then I heard it again. A slow scrape. Then a soft thud. Then another scrape. My first thought was that maybe an animal was outside. A raccoon. A deer. Maybe even a neighbor's dog wandering through the yard. I got up and walked toward the back window. The backyard was dark, but there was enough moonlight for me to see the outline of the fence, the grass, and the trees near the edge of the yard. Everything looked normal at first. Then I saw movement. Near the back corner of the yard, something tall shifted between the trees. I froze. At first, I thought it was just one of the trees moving in the wind. But there was no wind. The branches on the other trees were completely still. The grass was still. The leaves were still. Only one thing was moving. I leaned closer to the window, and that was when I saw it. It looked like a tree trunk. Tall, dark, and rough-looking, like bark. It had long branches stretching out from its upper body, but they did not move like normal branches. They moved slowly, almost like arms trying to balance the weight of a body. The bottom of it was the part that made my stomach drop. Because it had legs. Not human legs. Not animal legs. They looked like thick roots, twisted together, lifting from the ground one at a time. And it was walking, slowly, across my backyard. I could not move. I could not even blink. My mind kept trying to explain what I was seeing. Maybe it was a person wearing something. Maybe it was a shadow from the fence. Maybe it was a branch falling. But none of those explanations made sense. Because I watched it take another step. One root-like leg lifted from the grass. Then it planted itself down. The ground seemed to press under its weight. Then the other leg moved. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. It was not wandering. It was not stumbling. It moved like it knew exactly where it was going. I remember feeling cold all over my body. Not just scared. Cold. Like the air inside the house had changed. I wanted to call out to someone, but I was afraid to make a sound. I had this terrible feeling that if it knew I was watching, it would turn toward the window, and I did not want to see its face, if it even had one. The thing moved from the back corner of the yard toward the middle. It passed near one of the smaller trees, and for a second, I almost lost sight of it because it blended in so perfectly with the darkness and the other trunks. That scared me even more. Because I realized something. If it had been standing still, I never would have known it was there. It could have been in my yard for hours, maybe longer, just standing there, looking like a tree, watching the house. Then it stopped, right in the middle of the backyard. My heart started pounding. It stood completely still, its branch-like arms slowly lowered. The roots at the bottom seemed to dig slightly into the ground. For a moment, it looked just like an ordinary tree again. And then, it turned. Not its whole body at first, just the upper part. Slowly, toward the house, toward my window, toward me. I ducked down so fast I almost hit the floor. My back pressed against the wall beneath the window. I covered my mouth with my hand because I was breathing too loud. My heart was beating so hard I thought it would give me away. I stayed there, crouched under the window, too afraid to look. The house was silent. Outside, I heard nothing. No scraping, no thudding, no movement, just silence. And somehow, that was worse. Because I didn't know if it had walked away, or if it was standing right outside the window. I stayed there for what felt like a long time. Maybe minutes, maybe longer. Finally, I forced myself to look. Slowly, I raised my head just enough to see through the glass. The backyard was empty. At least, that is what I thought at first. The thing was no longer in the middle of the yard. I scanned the fence line, the grass, the trees. Everything looked normal again. But then I noticed something near the back corner. There was a tree standing there that I did not remember seeing before. It was thin, crooked, and darker than the others. Its branches were twisted upward like long fingers. I stared at it for a long time, waiting, watching, hoping it would not move. It didn't, but I could not shake the feeling that it was watching me back. I did not sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those root-like legs lifting from the grass. I heard that slow dragging sound. I imagined it standing outside the window, blending in with the trees, waiting for me to look away. The next morning, I went outside. I told myself I had to check. In the daylight, the backyard looked normal. Birds were chirping. The grass was wet with morning dew. The trees stood still at the edge of the yard like they always had. But when I walked to the middle of the grass, I saw something that made my stomach tighten. There were marks in the ground. Deep impressions. Not footprints. Not animal tracks. They looked like something heavy had pressed into the soil. Long, twisted marks. Almost like roots had dragged across the yard. I followed them with my eyes. They started near the back corner, crossed through the middle of the yard, then disappeared near the tree line. I stood there for a long time, trying to convince myself there was a normal explanation. But I couldn't find one. And then I looked toward the back corner of the yard. That strange crooked tree I had seen the night before was gone. There was only an empty patch of grass where I thought it had been standing. I never told many people about what I saw. Because how do you tell someone you saw a tree walk through your backyard? How do you explain that without sounding crazy? But I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And sometimes, late at night, when I look outside and see the trees standing still in the darkness, I wonder how many of them are really trees, and how many of them are only pretending. Thank you for listening to tonight's story. If this tale gave you chills, made you think, or left you wondering what may be hiding in the dark, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Dark Tale Shorts 101. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to continue sharing short horror stories, paranormal encounters, and terrifying experiences inspired by real people, real fears, and the mysteries we still cannot explain. Until the next story, stay safe, stay aware, and remember, some shadows are never truly empty.